say Selinsgrove.
Yeah, there might be one there. I'm not 100% sure. We used to do like the half price apps all the time. And welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And let's just get right to the most important question of every day is, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. I got my creamsicle old Buccaneers jersey. It's not in person. It's not this orangish. It's a little. It looks more creamsicle on the screen. But
okay.
But I'm good. It's Friday. It's what could be better than Friday?
Yeah, no,
besides, I don't know. Besides Saturday.
Sunday and Saturday. I'm a Sunday person. Are you a Sunday person or a Saturday person?
It depends. I remember that's a psychological question as well.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid I loved Friday night because you had all day Saturday.
Right.
But then I know as you get older, you get like Saturday night and you get Sunday. I know during football season, Sundays are great.
Yes.
Not that Saturdays suck, but it's. Yeah. But yeah, it's but there's Sunday. There's always that looming that like life comes back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we'll dive into it. There are very few. Some of the stuff we've talked about, I would argue, was more controversial. We've definitely talked about things where like there was a fence and which side were you on, and kind of tiptoeing around things and how to talk about it. I have never there's very few things that have been as one side or the other as what we talked about yesterday. I will start with this.
Well, let me jump in and say, sorry, we're starting early, but we have like real life conflicts today. That's why we're early.
Yes.
So for all of you who join at noon and we're halfway in, you're like, what are they doing? Yeah, we just had like life got in the way. But anyway, go ahead.
So it's funny, like when you talk about something like that, it is funny how and I'm wondering what your perception or what your take on it was. People to my face, I have had people come up and say to me, and it's like a 90-10 split, that they like the conversation and that not so much like, I'm not sitting here saying like everybody's in agreement, but they were kind of like, yeah, like it's a thing, like it's an issue. Like when you're a parent, you need like, those are the things that go through your head. On my phone with personal messages, it is like a dead 50-50 split. I have friends and family that are like, thank you for saying that. I have friends and family that are like, I'm with you. I have friends and family that are like, why would you ever say that? You couldn't have been more wrong. And then online, it's almost like the inverse, where it's definitely like a 75-25, where it's more based off the idea of like, it's about the kids, nothing else matters. So like that perception, and people actually like screenshotting me, like asking me about it, like all these different things. I've never been around something that is so just kind of like split and so just very like diversive. Well, this is not the topic that I thought it would fall onto.
This is what I think. First of all, kudos to us, because that's what, like, you get people talking, and that's, if everything we said, everyone was like, oh, I totally agree. How boring would that be? And happy Friday to Lisa. What we are, because there's lots of things that we agree on. But even the things we agree on, we try to bring it from different angles to make things more interesting and to point things out from a different way. Yeah. If you missed the conversation yesterday, go back and watch it. The general gist of what we're talking about here is the Hepburn Montgomery / combined Little League team that won they won districts, they won sectionals, they went to states, and they took fourth in states, and they came home from a fourth place finish and a 19-0 loss to a huge parade. And our debate was, is that parade worthy? As I explained to you, I joked with you the sponge worthy and the parade worthy, and there's a section of society that gets the sponge worthy joke. So so that's where the debate has come. Should they not? How, and also not how militant and how should people be on one side or the other?
Yeah. So, and this was the other part. And the people that I really enjoyed getting messages from, and it was both sides. Like I had people that were vehemently against me that like we had great conversations. Like they were really, really good. But the one part of it yesterday, and this is because there's like 3 different ways to go down this road. The one road is that I think people thought we were talking about the kids, which could not have been further from the truth. The conversation to me was more about the aspects of coaching and the aspects of being a parent and the challenges with that. And this is one of those like interpersonal challenges of like, what is your belief? What do you think should be done? And how do you handle that? And that was kind of like one of the losses that I kept going back to when I was going through messages is a lot of the people who were talking about the kids, they're not wrong. Like the kids deserve the accomplishment. Nothing that I say or you say should take away from the accomplishment that they just made. Like it was a good accomplishment. The problem that sometimes I ran into was I felt like I was talking about interpersonally from like a parenting coaching perspective. One of the hardest things as a coach is when do you praise and how much do you praise? And I find the topic fascinating because I've been coaching now for almost 15 years. And I've always, like, when do you clap? When do you give a trophy? When do you do all these different things? And not to ramble, because I want to dive in, I want you to have a say in it. One of the things that, like, when I was going to bed last night, I have worked hundreds of basketball camps. And during camps, I have had weeks where, like, I have had to go find an extra award because somebody earned something. I have had weeks where I have not given out a defensive player of the week because nobody played defense and nobody earned the trophy. So there's all these different levels and aspects to this, and kind of like, what is your, I find it fascinating from the parents and the coaches' perspective. Our audience is not 12-year-old kids. I never once thought that it would go from the perspective of the 12-year-old kid. If I'm a 12-year-old kid, of course I want to parade. If I'm a 12-year-old kid, of course I accomplished something. I just think from a coaching perspective and from a parent perspective of when do you praise and how much do you praise, it's a fascinating conflicting topic. And you and I have said before, when we came on here and talked about the federal employee stuff and whether they should be mandated to get the vaccine, the reason we talked about it is because I looked right at you and I said, I have no idea what the answer is. This is a neat topic because I don't really know what side of the fence I sit on. And this is kind of the same way with this. As a parent, I would be conflicted and I'm not sure which way I would have felt about it. I'm not sure how okay or how great or, I'm not sure the emotion I would have felt. So that's kind of like my opening spiel to it. But I'm still I still find the topic fascinating. I do, from a parent and coaching perspective. It's a neat topic.
All right.
I did a mark, didn't I? Did I pull a mark? Did I pull a mark?
My first comment is going to be, I love the fact that in the middle of it, you said, I don't mean to ramble, and then went on for 2.5 more minutes. Yep, that makes me laugh.
I pulled
my second part, and this has nothing to, I can see you at camp and be like, hey, we have a trophy here for the best defensive player, and none of you get it because you don't guard people. That would have been, if you ever did that, you would be my hero.
I don't go that far, but there have been times where kids come up and they're like, hey, there wasn't a defensive player of the week. And I was like, yes, we did not have one.
You are correct. Yes, because I watched you all play.
Yes, we had fun and it was a good week, but we did not have a defensive player of the week.
We have guy for wants to take the most shots and we have 30 of those. We have no one that wants to guard.
Yeah.
No, it is a fascinating psychological point of, and I like where you took it to the coaching aspect of when to praise, when to criticize, how much to praise. This is all, of course, the kids, we're adult enough to know the kids did not organize this parade.
No
12-year-old has the authority to say, hey, fire trucks, people line. Of course it was organized by the adults. And the delve into it is, as adults, where, how do you reward? How do you celebrate? And
it's tough. It's hard. That's the point, is that it's hard.
It is hard. And I understand the aspect. I'll give you an example. And maybe this is a bad example, but I'll throw it out there and you can tell me. At Montoursville, at schools, they have their walls of fame and stuff. And at Loyal Sock, you walk in, there's a picture of every kid that ever played on a team. At Montoursville, they only put up kids that are either first team All-State or state champions, whether it be a team or an individual. Except we have a swimmer, and I don't even know who it is, who took like 5th. Now, every time I walk past that, I think if you're looking at it from the swimming side, they are honoring the best swimmer in the history of our school. And swimming is a relatively new sport as opposed to the old blue blood sports. And it's not one of the most prestigious, and it doesn't have the longest tradition. So I understand from the swimming community trying to say why we should honor this kid because this kid is the best swimmer we've ever had. However, and I think it's 5th. It might be 4th. It might be 6th.
Yeah.
But every time I look at that, I also think, what about all the track kids and what about all the wrestlers who have finished higher than 5th, but don't have their picture up?
Sure. And
now, how unfair is that? Because in track and in wrestling, you need to be champion.
Yeah.
So that's where you always get this can of worms of who do we praise and who do we not praise and why? Because I can rattle off kids off the top of my head who took 2nd.
Right.
And there is no trophy. And there is not no trophy, but no picture in the hallway. So it is an interesting, and I can name kids that were named 2nd team All-State that there's no picture.
Sure.
But so when does 5th outrank 2nd? And should it? And is it not? And it doesn't mean 5th isn't a great accomplishment. Being the greatest swimmer in school history is a great accomplishment. Right. But taking 2nd place in states is so yes, these are all interesting. And again, when you're offering opinions, I just got an argument about another topic, and I even said this to someone. When you're offering opinions, there's no right or wrong. When you're debating facts, you can have right or wrong. Right. And we're debating opinions.
Yes. This is so some of the messages and different things that I got, there were great points made. I have someone in my family that's a teacher that brought up like there is a scale of like when kids where nothing is more important than positive reinforcement. So when they're a little kid, like that's why when they do something, you react like it's because it matters. And that scale goes up, 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 and then eventually it curves, and every kid is different. So there's no way to say what the value of a parade is to a 12-year-old. For some, it might mean everything. For others, it could mean a completely different thing. I don't know, but I thought it was a great point that she made that every kid's going to react to it different. There was somebody else who said from a society standpoint, like you can't really tell a community how they should celebrate. And you know what? I kind of agree with that. Like from a community standpoint, who is anybody to tell a community how they should celebrate? I actually thought that was a very valid point. This is like the last thing that I'll say about it, because I think what helps is like my perspective of it and why the conversation for me started and why I'm fascinated about it. I am now at the point in my life where I am closer to a middle-aged adult than a teenager. And so the things that I was thinking about 10 years ago, I'm like I don't even think about them anymore versus the things now, like I think about marriage, I think about parenting. I'm thinking about all this stuff truly for the first time. So when I walk out to the Lycoming Creek Road and I see the parade and I'm like waving to people and I like see Jamie, my internal thought is not like malicious, like, oh my God, can you believe they're doing this? My internal thought is
your internal thought was, are they throwing candy? Let's be honest.
That was the first internal thought. But once I got past the reptilian part of my brain, once I got past that part, my internal thought was, wow, like if I was a parent, how would I feel? What is that feeling? Because there's a tremendous pride that comes with it, but there's also everything of like when you get home and you have the conversation, some people are going to believe that was worth it and other people aren't. And so for me, the conversation became like, boy, parenting's hard because I already know how difficult coaching is, the balance and everything that goes into it. A lot of people think coaching is X's and O's, and X's and O's is like a tenth of it. And a lot of people think parenting is just setting a curfew, and that's like a tenth of it. And so the point that I wanted to make yesterday was like, this is an internal conflict that as a parent, like, I wonder how you really gauge that. Like, I wonder how you balance the idea of here's this community that wants to do this thing for my kid. But if I'm internally conflicted because like, I don't feel like they necessarily earned it, that's a really hard internal conflict. And that's how you and I got into the conversation of, would you let them ride in the parade? And you were like, of course. And I was like, I would too. Like, I'm not going to single my kid out. Would you want them to have the parade? And you were like, no. And I was like, I don't think I would. So to me, like this whole conversation was about the challenges of parenting and how difficult this stuff is and how there is no right or wrong answer. And somehow it got turned in to like this malicious, like, oh, you don't want the kids to, of course, like it's a great accomplishment. The kids in the community can celebrate the way they can. As a parent, I think I would have been conflicted. As a coach, I think I might have been conflicted. And that's kind of the whole point.
Let me cover a couple of things you just said right there. It is not hard to be a parent, and it is not hard to be a coach. It's hard to be a good parent, and it's hard to be a good coach. And the reason where you just said X's and O's is like 10th on the list, that's the reason that you guys win, because you get that. And there are so many mediocre coaches who think X's and O's are number one on the list.
And this will take 10 seconds. Also, too, like, that's why other teams win. Like, to the Hepburn Little League, like, that is why you win. Like, they had supportive parents. They had supportive coaches. Like, they did the right things. So the conversation isn't necessarily about, like, how to celebrate. The conversation is, like, how do you get teams to succeed and how do you get them there? And the conflicts internally that come along with it. Sorry, continue.
Okay, this is as you were just talking through this, I don't know why this hit me today and didn't hit me yesterday. Again, when you talked about from a coaching aspect and how much to praise and how much not to praise is really a fantastic point. And it goes back to then as a parent. So put yourself in the parents who are really, really like want this parade.
Right. They're proud. They're in the moment and they're proud.
So here's my question to them. Why? Why is it so important to you that your kid is on a fire truck? And this is, and I'm not like,
is that rhetorical, or can I?
Kind of.
Okay.
But and we can't answer because we don't know, but here are some of, like, is it so your kid can bask in the moment of everyone telling them how wonderful they are? Is it for you to be able to bask in the moment of, that's my kid up there? Because one of the things, like, that I have dealt with coaching my own son, and I've done a lot of coaching, I verbally praise the other kids much more than I verbally praise my own kid. My own kid and I, we talk about it. And on the way home, we'll discuss, and after the games, we discuss. But, like, I'm never, and it's the aspect of, we always talk about the negatives of these high school kids and these spoiled college kids who get all the way up through, and all they've been done is told how great and how great and how great and how great they are. If we as parents insist on overwhelming applause for our kids, or if the only way your kid can succeed is with this, it's in a different way. It's like if you ever talk to parents who are like, my kids will only wear Under Armour.
Sure.
Well, if you have a kid that will only wear a certain designer, then you've created a monster, and that's probably on you. So these are kind of the balances of how much praise does my kid need and how much do they get, because
it's hard.
It is a very, very hard balance. So back to, I will restate my original question. If you're a parent and your kid is in, and you are adamant, because as we talked about, we would be conflicted.
Yes.
If you're not conflicted, if you're like, my kid damn well deserves a parade, and why? What is the underlying aspect? Is it for you to be able to say, everybody look how great my kid is, or is it for my kid to get this round of applause? And that's a real question. And now I know I just pissed off a lot of people with that one, but that's the psychological question that I'm wondering.
But no, to your point, like, I think there's several different sides to this. This is, again, the part that I'm bummed about. I have no issue with criticism. I have no issue with people having
you're a coach.
Opinion. So I have no issue. Like, when people were texting me this morning and sending me screen stuff like that, I truly, like, I'm not being ignorant. I get it. Like, everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone's going to think differently. The part that I will say that I am bummed about is, like, I would like to think that I'm a better coach and that someday, hopefully, I'll be a better parent. I'm not saying I'll be a good parent. I'm not saying I'll be a bad one. I'm not saying I'm a good coach or a better one. Whatever mark I'm at, I would like to think that I'm a better one because these internal thoughts go through my head. Whether I have the answer or not, I'm questioning them. And the reason I'm questioning them is because if I can find a sliver of the answer or a sliver of the reason, I'm now more informed and I'm a better coach and I'm a better parent because I thought of that. And so if I would have been involved, like if I would have been in that parade or if I would have had my son in that parade, that would have been the internal question that I would have been like, boy, this is challenging. Like, how do I handle this and what do I do? So the frustrating part for me is like, I truly wanted the conversation. I did. Like I said, I had great conversations this morning with different people that agreed with me and people that were like vehemently against me. But we had great conversations going back and forth. And they brought up things like, I had a teacher friend who brought up how the suicide rate in younger kids now is higher. And so like, there's this push for like, we've got to figure out a way to like make them realize they're valued and because it's just a different time. And I don't necessarily even I don't disagree with that thought process. Like there's clearly a problem and COVID hasn't helped it and it's only exaggerated it. So like, how do we show these kids that like we're here and they're here for support? And they said in the message, like, what better way than a parade? You know what, Mark? I don't have a great answer for that. Like she's kind of right. So there's so many different sides and aspects of this. The part that I would say is that like, if you don't even want to have the conversation, then I don't see how you're necessarily like being like, you're not going to get any better, a better coach, a better parent, a better person. If you're not even having those internal discussions, if it's just simply like, well, they're like, I don't know what to do with that.
Well, and that's because in the dealing with when so many people just react emotionally. Sure. And don't want to react logically and intelligently. And in so many of these aspects, whether it is parenting or coaching or whatever, that there is, and there's both levels. There's an emotional level and there's a logical level. And if for all the people who are just like, well, that's the way it should be and that's it, then you're never going to reach them. And there's also never going to be a level of improvement because they're always going to make their decisions emotionally. And that is the struggle of, I tell people as a parent that I've told people this as a Little League coach and as a lot, I've put a lot more thought into it than just to show up and decide in the moment.
Right.
And that's, when you can see, I'm sure that you've gone up against coaches or even coaches you've seen from afar, maybe even in other sports that coach a lot more emotionally than logically.
Sure.
And when you have kids and you watch your kid go and they move up and they have the same kids in class and in sports and whatever, you will see the parents who parent a lot more emotionally than logically. And you also don't want a coach or a parent who is totally logical. If you have Mr. Spock, this is not good.
Sure.
But maybe you want Mr. Spock on the staff at the end of the bench, but not the guy in charge. But there is this blend of it. And you're right. If you can't, and this is where we've gotten as a society, we can't disagree and have intelligent conversations. And it's almost refreshing the times we do disagree and have an intelligent conversation. And the best point that I learned from yesterday was the one who said a lot of it's because of the community couldn't go and support it because the times. And when I heard that, I was like, yes,
makes perfect sense.
This gives the community a chance to stand up and give a round of applause because they couldn't do it from the bleachers.
Yeah.
And that is the best point I took from yesterday. Yeah. But yes, as a society, we've lost the ability to have these conversations when we disagree. And we do have to understand that there's a balance of emotion and logic. And we have to be willing to dive into both of them because all aspects of life have both. Almost all aspects of life have both. And coaching and parenting certainly do.
Yeah. So for me, like a final word, like, again, I congratulated them several times yesterday. I even defended their loss. Like, again, that was not reflective of them.
Well,
as a team.
yeah,
like, the team they ran into was a buzzsaw.
And this is one of the other things too, not to cut you off, but Jerry and I were just talking before because it's the trade deadline and in baseball, it's a big deal. And the Yankees are making moves and all that stuff. The Yankees lost yesterday 14-0 and Garrett Cole pitched and it was like 14-0 in baseball is bad. That is bad. But I said there's almost it's easier to lose 14-0 or 19-0 than 4-3 on a heartbreaker. And like, it's emotionally like, you know what? They were better than us today. Yeah. And it really is. The kids aren't losing sleep over 19-0. If it's 3-2 on a play that maybe somebody missed a ball or somebody struck out or something, those ones can linger with you for years. The blowouts don't. You're just like, wow, they were really good. Yeah. We weren't. Let's move on. Let's go swimming.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So again, congratulations to them on a great season. And sincerely, like, best of success moving forward. And I don't know, I learned a ton from this. Like, and like I said to you the other day, like, it's not even about necessarily like being right or wrong. It was just kind of that idea of like, I'm getting to the point where I'm at an age where like I'm starting to think of these things I never thought of before. And like, that was a very like internal discussion. And I know it was a good one because like I said, like my phone was 50-50. I had people that loved me being like, what are you doing? I had people that I hadn't heard from. I hadn't heard from years saying like, thank you for talking about it. Like, so I guess it just depends who you are and your situation and all that. But I can't stress it enough. And the same thing I said yesterday, congratulations to them. It was a great accomplishment, truly. And again, I don't know if it like, I went to the parade, I waved, I clapped. I came on here, I congratulated them. They should feel proud. I also think we should be able to come on here and have a true internal discussion as well, because our audience is not 12-year-olds. Our audience are coaches and parents and people that like internally have these discussions.
And here's the point I can't get past from your little soliloquy there. When you said, I have people who I love saying, what are you doing? Is there any group in the world who says to you, what are you doing, more than the people that love you? Like, this is family life. Your family spends their whole life looking at you and saying, what are you doing?
No, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. So anything you wanted to touch on quickly? Last like 5 minutes? We don't have to.
I was just saying this when we got on and when you clicked me in before we started, and like I was glued to my phone and you were like, wow, are you okay? And I was like, oh, I'm just watching women's soccer highlights. And I don't want to, because I enjoy watching at night a lot more not knowing than what happened. And I've learned through the Olympics, because they're in a bad time zone for us, I try really hard to avoid what happened during the day so I can watch it at night and not know. So I'm not going to tell you what, but we talked the other day about how swimming itself, unless you're a swimmer, it's not really an exciting sport per se, but it is such an exciting TV sport. And I would almost describe swimming as somewhat boring yet riveting. And I think soccer is the same way. I can only watch a soccer game if I know kids playing, because you can't see things happen like in basketball or football or whatever. It's just kind of a flow. And I think to a lot of ways, soccer is a boring sport that is riveting to watch when stuff's on the line. And World Cup soccer is a great spectator sport, and so is Olympic soccer. And I just watched 6 minutes of women's highlights, and I was glued.
No, it's so good. That is, for me, that's wrestling, because obviously basketball and wrestling kind of, butt heads. But so the first couple of times I watched wrestling, I was like, I don't really get it. Like, it's not for me. And then I had a friend say to me, go watch someone wrestle. And he goes, it will change everything. So I went and I actually watched a friend wrestle, and it did. I couldn't look away.
You're not talking about Monday Night Raw. You're talking
No. I'm talking about actual like high school, like college wrestling. And it changed. So sometimes it is like you almost need like that kind of like a little bit of a push or something. So the stakes of an Olympics or World Cup, like sometimes it makes this stuff, feel really, really intense. For me, that was like actually knowing somebody participating or involved in it makes it like that.
Now, the beauty of amateur wrestling, which makes it so, is it's so quick.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to invest, and with each move and with each, is it a reversal? Is he got back points? Because the match is so short, that is vital. Yeah. And wrestling is, even if you don't know, this is what I do at wrestling. I try to sit next to somebody who knows. Right. And now I keep asking, how good is this kid? What's good? And I know enough about it to enjoy it. I find it really more enjoying if I sit by a dad who can walk me through. And when the beauty of wrestling too, unlike like a sport like basketball, if you sit next to the best player's dad, the best player's on the court the whole game, so dad's focused. Yeah. The best wrestler's on the mat for a minute because he just decked his kid, and now he can guide you through the rest of it. Right. And you can learn a lot if you sit by a good wrestling parent for a match. Well,
it's golf and wrestling, right? Where like the better you are, the less you actually play.
Yes.
That's the way it goes.
I mean, that would really, and I was never a wrestler, that would suck. If you're really good and you put in all this time and you go out in 32 seconds and it's over. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you've like perfected
you're proud and you're like, but you don't get to do it.
Yeah. If you like perfected your craft to the point where you were just, you're beating people in 20, 30, 40 seconds. Yeah.
I mean, it's great. And all the wrestlers are out there saying, no, that's what you want. Right. And I get it. But it's almost like they should send somebody else. Like, give me another guy to beat. This was like, I worked all week for this.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. We'll dive back into next week. We're going to dive in back to like some of the COVID stuff, some of the Olympic stuff. There was interesting news about the Britney Spears thing today. I don't know if you saw that or not, because you and I have talked about the whole aspects of that. So we're going to dive into some of that stuff next week. And hopefully, I don't know. I might still be in this room. I don't know yet. We'll find out.
I have a baseball-free weekend, and I haven't had many this summer. So I really need to watch the Britney documentary. Where is it? Is it on HBO Plus?
I thought it was on Hulu, if we're thinking of the same one. I'm pretty sure it was on Hulu.
Okay. I got to find it. I might need someone smarter than me. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to call my 19-year-old daughter and say, help me out. Where is this? Right. And I'll probably end up paying $3.99 to watch it or something. But have you saw it, right?
I did see it. It's good. It's worth watching one time. It's a sob story about a celebrity where like it is very. These celebrities have so much power and they're in so much control, and this is like a 180 from that. It's a very unique story.
Yeah, I gotta find that. And I think I might go to the movie theater and see Jungle Cruise whenever that opens.
Yeah,
because I still yet. Have you been back?
Back to the theater? No, I have not been in a movie theater yet. I know we talked a lot about kind of like when, like, would I go back, all those things. I have noticed though, like I have talked about it because before, like a year ago, I was saying to you, like, I don't know if I'll ever go back. Like, I don't know, the comfort of just kind of your recliner and the projector. And I don't know if I'll go back, but I will say in the last like couple of months, it has come up like, should we go see this? Should we go see that? Should we go to dinner and a movie, like that kind of stuff. So I do think, I think that I'm swaying towards going back into the theater.
Well, and we know how we've talked a lot about how society's going to change because of COVID, and the biggest thing is working remotely. I think we realize that will be different forever. And the movie theater, we've talked a lot about that experience. How's it going to change? Applebee's, isn't that what I said? Applebee's is running a promotion with the Jungle Cruise. If you spend $25 at Applebee's, you get a ticket.
Right.
And I read through it. It's up to 4 tickets.
Yes.
So now I know the thing as well. That means for a family of 4, if you spend $100 at Applebee's, you get $10 worth of free movie or $40 or whatever it is, wherever you're at, worth of free movie tickets. So it's the whole dinner and a movie. And more than that, it is a unique way of the movie theater business trying to get people back into it,
right?
Because they got so out of the habit. So so if you're looking to go out to eat, and you're like, hey, we got Applebee's, and you drop, and they're not even sponsored, but we get movie tickets out of it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Like I said, we'll be back next week. And thank you to Weiss Markets for being our title sponsor. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
Can you please do one thing for me before the day's out? Can you walk into the gym and tell the kids there is a trophy for the best defensive player, and none of you earned it?
We have a best defensive player this week. We do.
You have a legit one?
We have a legit defensive player. Our kids this week were great. They were really, like, especially like my group, like it was a hardworking group. Like they were great.
Okay. It was a good week. Can I ask one more favor then?
Yes.
The next time you have no one that plays defense, I want to be there when you tell them.
That no one plays defense?
Yes. We have a trophy. None of you deserved it because none of you play defense.
I don't say that. I just you just don't put the trophy on the table. There's just not an award that week.
I want to be there when you do say it. Because
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. We'll see you next week.
Everyone who's coached basketball knows those kids who don't play any defense.